Evaluate the expression 16 raised to the 3/2 power. In order to evaluate this expression, we need to recall the meaning of a rational exponent. So let's write down the expression a raised to the power of m over n. What we need to recall in this expression is that the denominator of the fractional exponent, the n, indicates to take an nth root. One way to remember that is that if you think of the fraction bar as being ground level, n is below ground level. And if you think about plants, where are the roots? The roots are below ground level. So the number in the denominator of the fractional exponent indicates that you need to take the nth root of the base. Well, what about the m? The m indicates that you need to evaluate the mth power. So evaluate the mth power. Now we can do this process in either order. If we decide to take the nth root first, we would write that down as the nth root of a, take the nth root of the base, and then evaluate the mth power. Or alternatively, we could evaluate the mth power first and find a to the m, and then take the nth root of the result. All right, so let's take a look at our expression. We have 16 raised to the power of 3 over 2. The denominator of the rational exponent is 2, so that indicates that we'll need to take a square root. Find the square root of 16. So write down the square root of 16. And remember, with square roots, it's not necessary to write the index of 2 down. It's just understood that it's there. We need to find the square root of 16 and then raise the result to the 4th power. I'm sorry, not the 4th power, but to the 3rd power. All right, so what is the square root of 16? The positive square root of 16 is 4. And then we need to cube the result. 4 cubed means that we need to find 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64. Now, on the other hand, we could do the following. We could have raised 16 to the 3rd power and then found the square root of the result. However, you can see that this is a little bit more challenging to do mentally. You may need to use your calculator to help you on this one. If we find 16 times 16 times 16, or 16 raised to the 3rd power, we come up with the number 4,096. And then we can use the square root key on our calculator to find the square root of 4,096, and that comes out to be 64. My personal preference is to use the first method because when we take the square root of 16 it becomes a smaller number and then we have a small number to cube. We can do the mental arithmetic. Your calculator can also evaluate rational exponents. So let me illustrate that real quickly for you. Okay, on your calculator, just enter the expression 16 raised to the 3/2 power. The only thing to be careful about is to make sure that you put the 3/2 exponent in parentheses. So enter 16 raised to, in parentheses, 3 divided by 2, and then press enter, and you can see that the result is 64. So what is 16 to the 3/2 power? It's equal to the number 64.